Good evening, and welcome to HUR Home Inspiration. I'm Jacquie Gales Webb, host of Gospel Spirit, Sunday mornings, 8 a.m. to 11 on 96.3 WHUR, and host of this wonderful program in which we get to talk with some anointed and important and exciting individuals about faith and the role it plays in their lives and the issues that we are confronted with today. This is March 12th. We're in the middle of Women's History Month, a month in which we recognize all of the stories told and untold about how women have made America the place that it is, have contributed to all of the great things that America has produced, keeps it moving forward. We find out day after day stories about women in history that have just really made valuable contributions, and their stories have not been told. And it's just always a joy to find out these stories. But in February, right before Women's History Month, March, all of this information came out about young American teens. CDC, the Center for Disease Control, released a study, the results of a study. They released it February 13th, and it says that U.S. teens experienced increased sadness and violence. And then there were opinion pieces about the study, about American teens are unwell because American society is unwell. The Atlantic magazine did a big article about America's teenage girls are not okay. So I thought in this March Women's History Month, we pause for a minute and take a look at the present with an eye on the future. I wanted to take a look at this issue of young teenage girls, this national crisis of anxiety and sadness. And I wanted to talk with my friend, my childhood friend. We went to Westbury High School together in Long Island, New York. But she is an award-winning advocate, a female empowerment advocate. She is an author. She was the first African-American models editor for 17 magazine. She was a recipient of an Essence Award, and she has a book out called Got It Going On about empowering girls and young women, and she has developed tools to help them through the development of her personal and professional experience. And so it's my great pleasure to welcome my good friend Janice Ferebee to HUR Home Inspiration. Hello, Janice.
Hey, Jackie. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. This is
My
a great
pleasure.
topic.
It's about time, huh? We already have some good friends joining us in the chat. Teresa Lee, who has
Teresa.
worked with Janice before. Beloved community is here. Pamela Gordon, Latanya Davis Bennett is with us, and Charles Keener. God bless you, Charles. Thank you so much for joining us. And I invite everyone who wants to make it known that they are with us tonight to please join us in the chat. And if you have a question or a comment or any area you want us to explore, please put it in the chat and we'll do so. So, Janice, for many years, you have been working to empower young girls and teens. And I wanted to give our audience a bit of background about you. I mentioned that we both grew up in Westbury, Long Island, New York. Tell us a bit about yourself and what got you to this point as an author and an advocate.
Well, again, thank you so much. And this is just a critical time to be talking about this. Grew up in Westbury, Long Island, as you said, with wonderful community. We had wonderful community. Our parents, teachers, you get in trouble down the street and you would get in trouble by everybody going to your house. And then you get in trouble when you got home. So we had people who were looking out for us. Left Westbury, went on to Michigan State University, and then worked for a while and became the first African American models editor for 17 magazine back in 1979. And that is where I began the work that I'm doing today. Because every Friday we would have what are called go-sees. So people would come, girls would come to the magazine, for tours, and I would do the tours, and I would also take pictures with Polaroid camera to determine whether or not they would be good for the magazine, whether it's an article or on the magazine cover. Hey, Tueri Marshall. But what I started seeing was just the low self esteem. The girls would do anything. This is 40 years ago. So I'm going to talk about kind of what's going on today. But I got, from 17 Magazine, just started doing some work around what can I do? Because my self esteem, although I look good on the outside, there were some things going on with me as well. So what ended up happening is I ended up getting addicted to drugs and alcohol. And just going in kind of the wrong direction, I would say. But I am blessed with over 30 years in recovery today as a result of just the thank you, just the people in AA and family praying for me. So taking that and the personal experience with 17 Magazine and wanting to do something different so that other girls who grew into women did not have to go through what I went through. So the book came out, got it going on. The first book, An Image Awareness Guide for Young Ladies, came out when I first started at graduate school, University of Pennsylvania, because I decided, okay, I'm going to take all this stuff that I've gone through and do something with it that's going to empower girls and young women, especially girls and young women of color. So I wrote a book, was featured on BET's Teen Summit in 1996 with Ananda Lewis and the posse, and then went on to finish at University of Pennsylvania. Brought the program that I started at University of Pennsylvania called Fitness and Fashion with Funk. Brought that to DC, and I started at Metropolitan Baptist Church. Um, and then moved that program to the YMCA, where I ran it for probably about 10 years. And that's where I was featured on Oprah in 2001, 2003 Essence Award, all of that based on 17 Magazine, the self-esteem and the need for girls to have positive, culturally affirming, girl-friendly activities. And that's why I do the work that I do today, which leads us into what we're talking about today, this crisis. But that's kind of where I came from. I was in the band, orchestra, chorus. So I'm a dancer, not a dancer. I'm an over 60 fitness diva, which includes, we do dancing and fitness. So I do a lot of things to keep myself healthy. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, fallopian tube cancer survivor. And it's interesting, Women's History Month, fallopian tube cancer is the rarest of gynecologic cancers. Only about 1% of women every year are diagnosed with that. So, like you said, I've taken all of my unique personal and professional experience and expertise and balled that up into the Got It Going On brand to help what I call empower the next generation of women warriors.
And I have known Janice Ferebee since high school. And let me tell you, Janice Ferebee in high school, she was a fashionista before the term became popular. I mean, everything
Oh,
matched. Fingernails, toenails, all the clothing, the makeup.
sure did.
Yes,
Oh,
indeed,
wow.
she was a fashionista. And she's one of the strongest people I know to have gone through what she went through, the drug addiction, the surviving cancer, the loss of family members, just so many
Mhm.
things that God has brought you through. I just love you, and I'm just so proud of you
Thank you,
that
Jack.
you have taken all that you've gone through and you're using it to help others. When we were teenagers, okay, so I remember there was a model named Twiggy. And
Yes,
everybody wanted to look like Twiggy. Everybody wanted to not eat so you could be a twig, so you could fit
right.
into clothes and not have any shape. But now the young girls are confronted with they want you to be shapely. They want you to have your shape to be exaggerated. The sexuality is exaggerated. I always tease that when we were teenagers, Janice, the Beatles said, "I want to hold your hand," and now they talk about holding a whole lot more than just your hand
Right.
in the modern music. So not only that, the teenagers today have had to go through isolation during the pandemic. And so I wanted to get from your perspective those factors and others that you may know of that have contributed to all of this anxiety of
Yeah.
teenagers today.
Yeah. You hit so many things. When we were younger, we saw folks, like Twiggy, some of the other individuals who were in the public eye. Um, but we did not, I think there was not this longing and this just insatiable need for looking like someone else, which we see today. And you hit also on the head. Social media and COVID-19 are two other major contributors to this anxiety, the fear, the depression. So starting with social media, so we take Twiggy, but now we take Twiggy into the 21st century. Twiggy is now on TikTok. So we have TikTok videos of Twiggy and, whatever, or whoever is the flavor of the month or the person of the month, and how you can look like this individual, and all these different ways of how to, how to make yourself look like that. Then we have influencers who now get lots of money. There's even a course in college now about influencers and all that kind of stuff. But influencers now taking over and telling you this is what you need to do, this is what you got to do. And then you have reality shows, which I consider just total just insanity. So you have reality shows, you've got celebrity saturated society. We've got the Oscars coming on tonight, so everybody's glued to that. So you got all of this stuff bubbling up. But back in the day, you didn't have all these points of contact where you can look constantly. We are looking constantly at half the time you can't even have a conversation with a young person because they are glued to the phone, to the tablet, whatever. So you've taken now what used to be, okay, Twiggy's cute, I'm gonna try to do that, into all of these points of contact where they're telling you this is how you do it, this is how you do, try this, try that, try this. And girls are trying everything and not feeling comfortable. So I talk about that's part of where the anxiety comes in, that we are comparing ourselves to people who don't have the same bone structure, have the same hair texture, have the same body shape. So we can't even, maneuver ourselves, but girls are trying to. And where it's gotten even worse, they're doing it with plastic surgery. So if you don't look like that, when I was at 17, 96% of the world is not built like a supermodel, only 4%, which means that there's a whole lot of us who need to become comfortable with who we are, what we look like. So accepting what we look like was a little easier back then because we didn't have all this stuff to be compared to all the time. We are trying to, in this superficial, and that's where I talked about reality check. We live in a very superficial, crazy society today. And so self-esteem, raising your self-esteem, your value, your worth is very difficult when you live in la la land. It's very difficult because then you don't even know who you are. You don't know what you value because you're always working on or trying to be what you see on all this other stuff. So you become anxious. You become depressed because you don't look like that, and you probably never will. You become suicidal because people are telling you, and this is the other piece of what social media has done. To me, social media has become a negative influencer and a pollutant to the souls and the minds of our girls and our boys. But you're trying so hard to become what you really were not meant or put on this earth to be. Then you get COVID. So you got all these things going on. Then you get COVID, isolation. So now you, at a time when developmentally, girls and boys are trying to figure out, okay, who am I? Adolescence. That's what adolescence is all about. But when you are divorced from that, where you're not able to interact with your peers. Now you've got even more time to be bombarded with all this insanity, the craziness. You're supposed to be looking at class, you're supposed to be in class, teachers, but, and I'll share about some things that we've done. What That's not happening. These girls are all over the place, looking everywhere else, on these TikTok videos, or trying to create TikTok videos. Then there's also, it becomes a playground for predators. So you've got all these crazy other creeps online, trying to encourage the girls. So they become attached to all these things. So the anxiety increases, the depression increases, the fear increases, because they don't have any idea of when we're going back to school, what's going to be like, am I going to be like? So all of that just gets intensified during COVID. So you've got social media and COVID that has really exacerbated what is going on with our girls today, to the point of suicide. And suicide is the last resort. And in some of the studies I've been reading, as young as 5 years old. Now we're talking about teens, and I'm not going to stay on that, but how can you be 5 years old and want to take your life when your life has not even begun? But those feelings grow into the adolescent, and that adolescent girl. Social media has, and it's not all bad, but it has really just ripped the foundation away from building our girls. And that's the work that I do, is to kind of rebuild and get back in there. But that's kind of my take on what's
Five
going on.
years old. That's frightening.
Isn't
So
that is it's sad.
okay, so you laid out the scenario. What are you telling young women and their mothers? Because you're also talking to parents about this, and what are some of the solutions, ways to counter the negative effects of social media?
So I'm going to begin with reading. It's a chorus from the song "What About the Children" by Yolanda Adams. So, what about the children? To ignore is so easy. So many innocent children would choose the wrong way. So, what about the children? Remember when we were children, and if not for those who loved us and who cared enough about us, where would we be today? And then another goes on to say, such a foolish girl, yet still she's your daughter. And if you just reminisce your days of young, what about the children? Don't just turn and walk away. What about the children? They need our love and our help today. So when you ask what would be solutions, first is to utilize some of the online apps, the online resources, because that's where the girls are. That's what they know. So there's now many of you all have heard about the 988, which is like a 411 for mental health. It is a number that is manned by, or womaned by, individuals who are trained counselors, trained to listen. That's another big thing that we've got to do, is listen, not talk at. But these are trained individuals to listen to, especially young people. So they're trained to know some of the issues that young people, because young people's issues are different. And they're trained not to be judgmental. That's also very important, not to be judgmental, but to listen to what's going on in these young people's lives. So finding out about these apps, there's an app, and I know I'm not saying it correctly, but it's okay not to be okay. Those are some of the things that are out there. It's okay not to be okay. The 988, but online applications, online resources. The other is programming, like Got It Going On. But programming, finding programs that are girl friendly, gender based, that are culturally affirming. And that is so important. A lot of the studies are talking now about culturally customized, culturally affirming programs like Got It Going On, that take into consideration wanting to be able to uh, talk about issues that might be relevant to the African African American community or the Native American community or the Asian community or the Latina community, but being culturally affirmative, girl friendly, and non educational, because that's another thing about got it going on. Non educational. We don't want to be in school 24/7 on the weekends. That was one of the things that the girls talked about that they loved about the Got It Going On Empowerment Program. It was a program of issue discussion plus dance. And we would always tell them it was a no parent zone. So programs where the girls know that they have a safe space. I told the girls, the parents will come only when you invite them. They never invited the parents. So I had to create a space for the parents to show up. But programs that are, as I said, culturally affirming, but also have adults that care for and love our children. So one of the things.
What about faith-based programs? Do you know of any?
Faith-based programs as well. And faith-based programs can be customized, because if it's a church, like Got It Going On can be customized for a church or a whatever religion, because it doesn't always have to be just in a church. It could be synagogue, mosque, but programs that utilize the underlying cultural, whoever the creator is that someone believes in. Yes, those are really good as well, because girls in churches are dealing with the same thing that girls who may not go to church need. So programs across the board, Got It Going On, the YMCA, YWCA, your Parks and Rec, but you want to look for programs. And if you don't have a program, if you can't find a program, utilizing your neighborhood network. So I talk to people about buying a Got It Going On, a copy of Got It Going On for the girls in your home. So you may have 3 daughters. Get one for all of them. Buy them for all the girls on the block. Buy them for all the girls, Got It Going On. Buy them for all the girls in the community, in the church, so that they can go through the book together. You can create your own program. You can do this with other books as well. There are other authors out there. Of course, I think my book is the best thing since sliced bread, but there are other authors. There are other authors out there that we need to be, getting for our girls, but getting them together and getting them to talk. Because one of the things that I learned in the Got It Going On Empowerment Program, when the girls come together, they start learning that there are other girls that have these same issues. They start becoming a cohort of what they want to be, so that they are able to know that if they go back to school, and some of the programs I ran, a few of the girls were in the school, so that they knew they had someone that thought like them and that they were able to talk to. Because unfortunately, with so many of our young people, people get bullied, if you speak differently, if you don't want to say yes to all the things that, folks want you to say yes to. But having girls, whether it's Got It Going On, whether it's another program, whether it's another book, but having girls come together and create their own community of wellness and of greatness, because it's really important for our girls to want to grow up great. So those are some of the things that I would suggest: the online resources, your programming, like Got It Going On, with the books, but also some other specialized programs. And I'll say this and then move on. But healing circles, these are even more specialized. I was involved with the DC. I'm a member of the DC Girls Coalition, which is like the YWCA, the Washington Women's Area Foundation, Black Swan Academy. But as a result of COVID, the girls and some of the young men they were saying, we are going nuts. All the things that you talked about in those reports, they reported. We are anxious, we are depressed, we are suicidal and homicidal. Okay, so we need a space before we jump off on somebody. We need a space to talk about these things. So over the last 2 summers, I was one of the adult mentors for this group of young people from, I think, 12 to 24. And they said, and youth led. So that's the other thing I would say. Youth led. They came together and created what they wanted to talk about, and we got a facilitator, and it was what we call healing circles, and you hear about them, but those are even more um, focused mindfulness, and different tools, breathing, different kind of breathing tools when you're getting anxious, when you're feeling like you want to knock somebody out, or things like that. So programs like the healing circle, I think for me it was an excellent alternative, but for these young people, for the girls especially, it was a really special place for them.
Wow. Well, I know that you are a sought after speaker. What's coming up? What events are
So
coming up where we can hear Janice Ferebee speak?
So March 25th, I am the keynote for, it's called Empower Her, Empower Me Mother-Daughter Summit. And if you are a mother, or what they say, a mother figure of girls 8 to 18, it is going to be at the hotel at the University of Maryland from 8 to 5. But sign up there. You can come and hear me speak. April 22nd, I'm keynote at the Washington School for Girls. It's their first annual girls conference. And so I'm excited about that. And then in May, I won't necessarily be speaking, but Xi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, the oldest and largest chapter here in DC, and we are celebrating our centennial. We're having a women and girls conference. So that's a space and place for you to go as well. You can go to my website, and you can get in contact with me to find out. And then invite me to energize your next in-person or virtual event. I'm more than happy to come out and speak, because this is the work that I do. This is what I love doing. And as I said on the Oprah Winfrey Show, I will do this work until I take my last breath.
And you can reach her at janiceferebee.com. I think we have a ticker tape thing that can go across and show you. Yes, there it is,
There it is.
janiceferebee.com.
Mm-hmm.
And before I let you go, Janice, since this is Women's History Month, I want you to talk about an important member of your family that made history. Tell us about your very special ancestor.
Well, I guess you must be talking about Dr. Dorothy Boulding Ferebee, who I'm just in awe of her. I have a biographical sketch of her from pretty much the time she was born until the time she died. And she was busy all the time. She was an international humanitarian, a pioneering public health and Black female physician. She was the second national president for the National Council of Negro Women. She happened to be the founder, Mary McLeod Bethune's personal physician. And she was the fourth national vice president of the Girl Scouts of the USA, the first African American to hold that position, 10th international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and the 9th president of Xi Omega chapter. But she was also appointed by Presidents Kennedy and Presidents Johnson to several international delegations around women and children. Southeast Settlement House, she started in 1929, and also, if you've heard of Ferebee Hope in Southeast, that is named after her. But she was just at Howard, and she was at Howard for a good 40 years, and health director, OBGYN, obstetrics. So she was an instructor, but just an amazing, amazing woman. So thank you for asking about her, and I am just looking forward to doing some work. I've been doing some writing about her. There's a portrait that was gifted to her on the 50th anniversary of the Settlement House that is now at the Smithsonian Anacostia Community Museum, that will be on display starting April, I think, 19th, as part of, and it'll be on display for the rest of the year as part of an exhibit around women and the environment. So
Very nice.
I'm really excited, and looking at the National Portrait Museum, also portrait gallery, perhaps featuring that particular portrait as well. So,
well, I know she's very proud of you and all that you have done and are doing to empower our young women and girls, because after all, they are our future. We have to make sure that we do everything we can to support these young women. And so, Janice, any final words for our lovely audience that have joined us today
oh,
on
wonderful.
HUR Home Inspiration?
Well, what I tell people is to speak life to our children, for they become what you tell them. Speaking life to our girls. But I want to read a quote from Dr. Janetta Cole, if I might. Um, American anthropologist, educator, museum director, college president. But she wrote this quote in an endorsement of my book. I wish every girl in my country could have, hold, read, write in, interact with, learn from, and grow up with a Got It Going On 2 handbook that is in the language that she speaks. While being respectful of the particular community each girl is a part of, her Got It Going On 2 handbook would give her what she needs to be empowered. There is no magic wand that can make that happen, but what each of us grown-ups can do to make sure that girls we know and love have this modernized edition of Janice Ferebee's book. It is a book that can serve as a flight manual to help girls soar to the heights of their possibilities. Dr. Janetta Cole. And I thank her so very much. And I thank you, Jackie, for inviting me, for allowing me to share my labor of love. And again, I will be doing this work until I take my last breath.
Without a doubt, you're my homegirl. Grew up together. What is our high school reunion coming up? 50?
Oh, 50. Can you believe that? I'm not even 50. How can we be out of high school for 50 years?
Oh my goodness. But what a blessing.
Absolutely.
What a blessing.
And I'm so proud of you, Jackie. I love you so very much. And thank you for being on this journey with me.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Janice Ferebee. Everybody got it going on, and make sure you go to janiceferebee.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully you'll join us next Sunday, 6 p.m., HUR at Home Inspiration on Facebook and YouTube. And God bless you. Please be safe and be blessed.